In this video, we'll take a look at what are the different ways we can use to write code and create an HTML table. So different methodologies, right? The first method is something that we have used in this class, is to use this online tool called JS Fiddle. Now in JS Fiddle, what happens is you can just write your specific HTML code. So you omit the HTML tags, head tags, body tags, and just write your specific HTML code, and that generates the output on the right. Now this is great for learning, for creating small snippets and solving a specific problem, one specific problem at a time. It does allow you to write HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So this is method number one, something that we have used in this class. But what are the other options available? Now, the second option that is available is to create an index.html file in any particular folder in your system. Once you have done that, you can open that file with Notepad, something simple as Notepad, which should be available in most of your systems. And then you just write all your HTML code, right? So I've just added some HTML code here for as an example. Now in this approach, what you would need to do is you would need to add all the other HTML tags, head tags, and all of the other things as well, right? So this is basically creating one web page, and in that web page you have your HTML code that produces the table. Now the simple way to run this HTML file is to just double click this HTML file, and this will open it in the browser, and there you go. So here is your table. So that's method number 2. Now for method number 3, it is something similar, but instead of using a notepad, you can also use something like VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Now this is assuming that this is just a single page HTML. You can use Visual Studio Code, and depending on how complex your application is in real life, you may even use other editors like Visual Studio, the full IDE, or most of the applications, most of the front-end applications these days, they can use Visual Studio Code as well. So in Visual Studio Code, you open up your index.html file, and then again you would have to write not only the table tags and the contents within it, but also the other body tags, HTML tags, and of course CSS goes in the style tag. Now this, you can also run it in the browser, and it will look something like this. So the output is quite similar, but it's just the editor is different. Visual Studio Code gives you slightly more power in terms of writing code, gives you all the IntelliSense, and by IntelliSense I mean just the options available here as drop down, so you can select whatever you want. Of course, when you're writing code in Notepad, you have no IntelliSense, you have no suggestions, you have no autocompletes, so that's method number 3. And of course, method number 4 is using an online tool to generate your HTML code for just the table, but then of course you still have to wrap that HTML code into your head and body tags, and then somehow view it on the in another browser tab, right? But if you're just looking for how to generate the HTML code only for the table, then you can use something like this. You select the size of the table, let's say 2 by 3, and you can enter some content in here, and it will generate the table code here at the bottom, and then all you need to do is just copy the content from here and paste it in here, right? And then of course when you refresh the browser, you would see your entire table shown up here. Of course now there's no content in this table, that's why it is not showing up the whole thing, but you would follow that approach if you were selecting this method. So here are the various ways that you can do. Now depending on your preference, you might prefer Visual Studio Code over simple Notepad, so on and so forth. So depending on your preference, you may select the right environment for you to code your your HTML and create your table. That's completely fine. But irrespective of whatever method you're using, at the end, um, the takeaway from this class is really the conceptual knowledge of how to create the tables itself, what tags to use, and why they are and why to use them.